Relax, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join your host, Ron, as we talk all things Philadelphia Flyers and Lehigh Valley fandom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, very special episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. with a very, very special guest. That's right, folks. We're welcoming in one of the best, one of the top guys on the whole Philadelphia Flyers circuit, Mr. Bill Meltzer. How you doing, Bill?
Doing great, Ron. How about yourself?
Doing great, sir. Thank you very much for hopping on here, man. I really appreciate you doing this. We're gonna talk about some Flyers stuff, but first of all, though, Bill, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, man.
Oh, absolutely pleasure. No problem at all.
Awesome, awesome. So, the first question I want to get to, Bill, is this: you do a lot of stuff with the Flyers alumni and a lot of stuff with the Ed Snyder Foundation and things like that. Do you got something coming up here soon, or is there an event coming up here real soon?
Absolutely. So we just did our annual Friday Night Fights event. That was in March. The next big one on the calendar is the Alumni Charity Classic Weekend, which is June 13th, 14th, and 15th. It's 3 events, 3 days. The 13th is pickleball in Malvern. The next day is the annual walk run ride event, which is in Conshohocken. And then the day after that is the annual golf tournament, which is at DuPont Country Club in Wilmington. There will be probably upwards of about 60 Flyers alumni participating. And obviously, it's a great time for fans
Yeah.
and for the alumni as well.
Okay.
Big reunion in a lot of ways too. But I mean, ultimately, really, it's all about raising money for the community. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
this
is.
this is where like last night, the Flyers game, they just presented a check for $100,000 to Snyder Hockey.
Yeah.
And it's events like that. It's events like the Charity Classic that make things like that possible.
And Bill, you're very, very deep into that. You're what? You're the head of the Alumni Association, am I correct?
Brad Marsh is the head of the Alumni Association, but I'm the I'm the content manager
The
who
second
manages
banana
the.
guy, right? Your second guy in
Yeah,
charge.
yeah,
Okay, there you
much
go.
much smaller banana.
No, but see, that's what it's all about. It's about raising the money. It's about giving back to the community.
For
And
sure.
and you said there's going to be upwards of 60 alumni there. Can you rattle off some names?
So some alumni participate in one or two, or some do all 3 days.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so the biggest group is always the golf tournament.
Of course.
I mean, really, it's really there's alumni from every decade.
Oh, okay,
John
cool.
guys like John LeClaire and Mark Recchi, and unfortunately we lost Bernie, but Bernie was a
Yep.
regular every single year.
Yep.
He come to all of them. So e- even alumni who no longer live in the area often come in for the golf tournament. But
Yeah.
like last year we had people from who hadn't done a Flyers event and done an alumni event in a long time who came back for
Wow.
it. So
Okay.
even like some guys from the '70s, like Drew Callender, as an example, the
Oh, wow.
'70s guy,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
Barry Dean,
Yeah.
another '70s guys come back. We got players from the '80s, players from the '90s. It said, I mean,
Nice.
it really is just like a big Flyers family reunion, and it's right with the fans. They said like you participate side by side every day.
Wow. Okay. So like so are the alumni paired up with fans that sign up to do the golf the
Particularly,
golf game
particularly
or
the golf, yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Okay.
So all the different all the different golfing foursomes will always have at least one alum that's involved in that group.
There you go.
The pickleball event, they're doing like doubles, so there'll be an alumni
Okay.
on each side. There'll be
Oh no.
alum and a fan, right? And then the walk run is. Yeah, I mean it's structured, but it's a little less structured. You just walk up to anybody you want to walk up to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, um, can you tell us how fans and how people can get signed up for this? Is by
Yeah.
the way, we'll provide all the links, excuse me, in the description and everything. But where can they go to get signed up for this or see any of the information?
So if you go to flyersalumni.net, there's a section that says main events, which is our collection of fundraising events. You would go to the Charity Classic weekend, and then you could get general information on Charity Classic weekend, or if there's a particular one, say pickleball, for example, you click the pickleball one, and so each event you can register from that jump off page,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
they're all kind of grouped together.
Awesome, awesome. So all you have to do is, what's that website again there, Bill?
It's Flyers Alumni, all one word, flyersalumni.net. Hit the net.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, right. There you go. So flyersalumni.net. We'll have that in the description for you guys. Be sure to get signed up. It's a really, really awesome event. There's usually a lot of people there. It's usually a pretty big event. And what's the goal for the charity drive? What's the goal for that?
Margie would address that better than myself, but I mean, we've so I would say the overriding goal is well, first of all, a number of years ago, the alumni made a $2 million pledge to Snyder Hockey.
Okay.
That was another big chunk was just presented yesterday. They passed the $1 million raise mark about
Wow.
2 years ago,
There you
um,
go.
and so it supports that. It also supports. We have a program called Every Child Deserves a Bike.
Yep.
And these are adaptive bikes for special needs children. Now,
Yep.
just a quick word on that. The adaptive bikes can be life changing for kids.
I know. I've
Particularly kids.
seen them. I've seen them.
Yeah, for kids with mobility issues, right? Now all of a sudden it's freedom of movement, and it's a form of physical therapy. The unfortunate part about it is that insurance companies don't cover it. Okay,
Right. And then
and
I imagine those bikes are not cheap.
they are not cheap. Yeah,
No.
like a more downscale one. I mean, again, they're all customized to the particular needs
Right.
of the
Right. Right.
child,
Right.
but but they start at about $5,000, and they
Yeah.
can
See,
be
that's
75, yeah,
yeah.
and they're quite often 7,500 or more. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's
so events like these raise the money that enable us to have these bikes ordered and delivered, because they're always delivered in person. So we've done about 50 or so at this
right.
point.
I've seen the post that you do on Facebook too. By the way, hop on over there to the Facebook page as well. Get all things Flyers alumni so you can get notified about everything like that and stuff like that. So, thank you, Bill, for doing this. Thank you for being part of this charity that helps to raise this kind of money for the folks out there in the community, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. The alumni feel in general that so many alumni have made their permanent homes in Philadelphia, and feel
Yep.
like the community has given them so much that
Yep.
they feel like it's the least they can do to give something back.
And that's great to see too. When a lot of the old guard, even not that far back, a lot of the guys stick around, and be part of the community and things like that. Especially like with what Bernie Perron did, how
Sure.
he championed just being around. And there's a lot of guys that are still around from back in the day. They're still around and they're still involved in a lot of things too. So that's great. Like I said, we will have all of the information for you in the description here, so you can go over there and get registered for the pickleball or the run, walk, ride, or the golf tournament.
Yep.
What's the dates on them again, Bill?
So it's the 13th, 14th, 15th of June.
Okay, that's 13th, 14th, 15th of June 2026. That's alumni, flyersalumni.net. Hop on over there and get yourself signed up. So, in the interim, Bill, you started a rather large conglomerate called Hockey Hot Stove.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And man, that's just kind of exploded, right?
Yeah. We're very grateful. We've grown. Yeah, it's very gratifying, the number of people that come to the website, particularly our Flyers community.
Yeah.
The Flyers are our largest community. We cover all 32 NHL markets, but the Philly area, considering the lack of the getting the postseason, whatever. It's but the Flyers fans are amazing. Whether they're happy or not happy, they care, right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. And they're also very educated too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, but congratulations on the hockey hot stove, man.
Thank you.
I've talked to some of the writers that you have. Mike Fink is one of the guys that you guys have on there. Great guy, good writer.
Of course.
Spoke to a lot of those people there. So, congratulations on the hockey hot stove. And you can find that where, Bill?
HockeyHotStove.com.
There you go. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on Twitter,
From
right?
Twitter, yep. We're on all the social media outlets as well as
Yep.
our website. Yeah,
For sure, for sure. And Bill, thank you, Bill, for allowing us to post our Hockey Writers Inc. stuff up on there, me and Russ.
no
So
problem at all.
appreciate that.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, man. So let's since this is the Hockey Writers Inc. and we talk about the Philadelphia Flyers here, let's do a little talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, shall
Let's
we,
do it.
Bill?
Yep.
All right, cool. Last night was everybody said it was a very important game for the Flyers to try to at least get the 2 points from the Columbus Blue
Yeah.
Jackets. That really didn't happen. I think the second period basically, I mean, they played really, really well in the first period. They had
Mhm.
what, 14 shots or so on net, and they
Just
held,
three. Yeah. Three.
yeah, to Columbus. And then the second period was like the complete opposite.
Yeah, it was the first 5 minutes of that period. You know,
Yeah,
the, and they a lot of times, I mean, you see a team dominate the one period and then the other team pushes back in the second. To give up a goal in the first minute really hurt, right? And then you give up another one right after that. And then after that, they kind of stabilized,
yeah,
but they didn't generate really much offense at all till the very end. So they made that last push near the end. By then it was too little, too late. You're already down 3-1 at that point.
yep.
So they didn't play a terrible game though, Ron. To me
No,
the bigger thing was that you dominate the first period. It hurt to only get one goal in that period.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they got the one, and nice hardworking play, right? Couturier actually
yep. Good
creates a
play.
turnover. He
Yep.
wins a battle in the wall. He goes to the net.
Comes
You know,
back and gets the
gets the
reward.
rebound. Just yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And so, but to come away from that period, you had the Noah Cates penalty shot. Wasn't able to finish it. Right. Tippett had a breakaway. Wasn't able to finish it. And so easily could have been 3-0. Probably should have been at least 2-0.
At
And,
least.
and so, and so Columbus goes back to the room and they go, yeah, we got this,
Yeah, right.
and then so, and if you could have kind of withstood that early push in the second period, and, it's rarely just you point and figure that it's one player screwed up because there was a
Mm,
bad line change, right? There
yeah.
was a
Hmm.
coverage mistake.
Yep.
The first goal in particular was one that I think that Vladar would ordinarily save. Um,
I
gave up too much
agree.
gave up too much room on the short side on that,
Yep. I
and
agree.
so it's just those little things add up. So it wasn't a bad game in its entirety, but it wasn't enough either. And they need to find some way to come away with 2 points.
Bill, you said a very important point right there. It's the little things that add up.
Yeah,
Okay. And I think that pretty much covers the Flyers this entire season. It's those little things that keep adding up, that keep adding up, that keep adding up, that prevent the Flyers from getting over that hump and being able to string together more than just a couple games in a row and be able to get kind of on that,
yeah. Now
win
they have to do it at
streak or whatever.
home, right?
Yeah, right.
And now it's winning at home because they've won 6 in a row on the road. And how many times though have we seen it? Not just the Flyers, but a team does a big road trip. They do well on the road trip. They come home
Come
and
home and
they
yeah,
lose the first game.
yeah,
It's almost like clockwork.
it
So,
is.
you know,
So, but I think it'll be very telling how they come out against Chicago. Because if they come out flat or if they give up the first goal, now look, I understand they've given up the first goal, 47 games so far,
yes,
right? And I get it, it's part of their MO, blah 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 blah. But if you give up that kind of early goal to Chicago, that has the potential to snowball into even worse things. You know what I mean?
For sure. And we only have to go back a couple of years ago. You know, a couple of trouble coaching the team. Flyers were in position. And the Flyers had the gauntlet, right? They were stretching against top opposition, and they did pretty well. They were kind of hot on it, but really great. It's something like statistically, like just based on loss percentage, they had like it was 85% chance.
Yep.
And then they go in, and actually one loss was Chicago. It was the first or second loss. The unders were at the bottom. Columbus was struggling.
Yep.
They lost twice on trail. Just the dropped out. In these games, okay, these are wins. Okay, it can snowball real easily, and it's we have experience with that. And the Flyers, ongoing problem too is even these ruts where they just have to score and they have too many shots.
Yep.
So they can't have that happen. They have to, they have to I need to be and go after a little bit.
Yeah, have a little bit more juice.
Yeah.
Try and go after things a little bit more. Okay, so this kind of puts the Flyers even more on the back foot here as far as making playoffs. At the beginning of the season, I thought that the team was going to be somewhat improved, but I'm still going to need to have at least 90 points or more.
They're 80. I honestly think to get in playoffs. The number I have is 98.
Okay, all right, so I wasn't that far off. I was thinking 90 or whatever.
That would be the equivalent because they play exactly 70 games, so they have 12 games left.
Right.
How to do the win 9-12. Yeah, totally.
You think that can happen?
Again, what they can happen is impossible. I mean, listen, they run off stretch. Now they have points in 13 of the last 14 games. Can happen. Right. Buffalo were league, and now they're so you can do that. It's not there's so much parity in the league. It's possible. Just given their tendency to sometimes shoot themselves in the foot and they've won 6 in a row. Got to win at home. Just sometimes the follow through. And one of the biggest things, and his coaching tenure was short, but he said something that I'll never forget. When Mike Yo was the coach briefly, and he was talking about young players, specifically was talking about Owen Tippett at that time, and he said, Tip can have great games when things are going well for us. Things are rolling. Boy, Tip can jump in and he'll make plays, and just part of winning. But we need Tip to become in his evolution of when things are wrong and everything's going against you. Who's the guy going to stabilize? Who's the guy to turn around?
Yeah.
And the Flyers lack those guys. They have guys who, when things are going good, can go with the flow and join in, and you look great. But what about games going against you? Who's going to be the guy that steps? I mean, a lot of times here it's been R who's gotten them over.
Right.
But who were your skaters? And they haven't had nearly enough consistency. I mean, Kenny has to some degree. Where he's the game they lost in Columbus, where he had a hat trick.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes he's been that guy, but you really need more guys that can be that guy. And
you need consistent player or two that can draw the play on a regular basis.
When somebody needs to set a tone, and particularly they need to reverse course of the game, who's going to be that guy? They don't have enough of that stuff.
No, and they don't even have that defenseman like when Tiemann or when Desjardins, when the puck came on their stick and everybody was all excited and the puck would come to the stick and they would calm the game down.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chris Pronger was.
He was another one, right?
Right. And it wasn't always a goal or an assist. Sometimes it was a block shot. Sometimes it was a play after the whistle where the other team gets off the other team. That's just something that you can stay. And one of the things that Tiemann was so good at, because it wasn't so much Kimo is not a guy of a lot of words, right?
Uh-uh.
But he knew when to speak up, and it could be something as simple as like, guys, we're okay. Everyone just needs to relax here. Coming from him, it hit a little different.
Exactly. Because that's one of the leaders. That's one of those
Yeah.
types of guys that everybody's looking up to. Everybody's looking to him to be that guy like you talked about. He was that guy for that team, you know what I mean? And Flyers don't have hardly any of those guys right now on the team, and they don't even really have any of those guys, in the pipeline either.
Yeah. Now, I think Porter Martone will be such a player.
Okay.
I think he will be a legitimate first line winger. They don't have
I
first line
agree.
center. They
Right.
don't
I
have a
agree.
first line center in the system. And while I think there are some good young defensemen in the system, they don't have a true number one in the
Right.
system. You know, they who knows? Maybe David Juracek will have a miracle turnaround and he'll become that guy, right? Hey, stranger things have happened, but nobody can
Uh,
bank on. Hey, that's a first pair guy. That
Are
they
you
don't.
are you on the same bandwagon as Jim Jackson and Russ Cohen with Alex Chernak?
Well, about signing him, you mean? That
Yeah.
he's just
No. It's just a thing between those two, and I just thought maybe you might be in on because Jimmy always talks to Russ about how Alex is such a great prospect, and then they finally signed him.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just yeah, so I was just kind of wondering what your take on
Well,
him was.
yeah. I mean, Alex is very skilled,
Yeah.
right? Very, very, very good puck handler,
Yeah.
and exceptionally good stick handler. And he has the pedigree because his dad played in the NHL.
Yep.
Small,
See, there's the
physically,
but. There's
yeah,
the but.
yeah, physically kind of weak. You
Yep.
know, has that a significant amount of strength. To me, you sign him, you can always have enough skill in the system. I'm not banking on him being an NHL player or impact player. If, if,
Right.
if he makes it, fantastic. Because
Right.
particularly drafted where he was drafted. But yeah, but I
Okay.
don't. This is a guy who's going to be contributing in your top six the next number of years. Uh, right now, I have him on the Phantoms for at least a year,
At least.
probably two, and
Oh
then
yeah.
and then see, and then see.
Exactly. So I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because this is something that Russ and I have talked about on a number of occasions. And I kind of wanted to get your take on this too. Russ and I are both of the school that we feel that Barkey and Bump should be playing with the Phantoms instead of with the Flyers.
Mm.
But I know there's a whole bunch of different schools of thought with the young players and everything else like that. And so, can you just kind of give me your take on? Do you really think that Barkey and those guys should be up here playing now, or no?
Both guys to me look like NHL players. Um,
Okay.
you know, Bump. I mean, there are things that Bump has to work on, right? But
Yeah.
the things he has to work on are not developmental things; they're more refinement things. So that's a guy who you can do that at the NHL level. Plus he'll shoot the puck. We were just talking about
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, Bump has a willingness. He'll take the puck to the middle, go to the dirty areas, and he'll shoot the puck.
Right.
Now, in terms of his all-around game, he still needs some refinement on that. But
Okay.
he's not
Okay.
he's not he's not far off. I mean, remember he was expected to make the team out of camp.
Right.
Mark
Right. And
Mark's a
we all
little bit,
thought he was gonna. We all thought he was
yeah,
gonna.
and yeah, then he had a disappointing camp.
Right. Right.
Um,
And
and
then he was
then he had
injured there for a
then he had
while.
the
Yeah.
injury, yeah, and so yeah. Now it happens so many times where players come up, and they look good at first, and then the league adapts to them, and then they have to adjust to the league, and it's a constant game of adjusting. Um, to me, he looks like an NHL player. I'm fine with him being in the league with Barkey. You know, now he's just coming back from being banged up too. Like
Mm-hmm.
missed,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he takes some heavy hits out there, man. He
Yes, he
gets
does.
he gets clobbered out there. And he's always going to be one of the smaller guys on the ice. Well, what I like about, actually there's several things I like about Barkey, but one of the things I like about Barkey is he's fearless. He'll get clobbered, then he'll go put himself in the
Same spot.
He'll compete again. Like he'll go
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
He'll go right where he needs to go on the ice. Now he had a now as we're recording this, he had a very rough game last night.
yep.
But I think when you look at the overall body of work, I'm fine with it. It's
Okay.
um, there are guys who have been in the NHL before they're ready to be.
Yeah,
Barkey was real, when Barkey first came up, the thought was he was just going to get a little taste of the NHL, then
that's
head
what I
back
that
down.
that's right, right. That's what
Um,
we thought too.
but he kept playing well, and now he's hit a little bit of a wall. Um, so so I don't know. I mean, you know, honestly, what his role would be for the Phantoms is different than his role would ultimately be for the Flyers. When
Yeah,
people a lot of times look at junior numbers in particular, but also American League numbers, they don't really necessarily translate to the NHL.
no, they
Um,
don't.
you know, and that's for a variety of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons, well, two of the biggest reasons. Okay, let's do two reasons. Reason number one is that at the junior level, the American League level, players are just a little more skilled, a little quicker than their opposition. Um, you know, not to turn this discussion another Morgan Frost discussion because I hear so much about Frosty because everybody knows about Frost guy. Okay, but the reason why Morgan was so dominant, and I mean dominant in junior hockey, was he used to be able to make plays at a standstill because he
Yeah,
was so much more skilled than the other guys he was playing. Like you would watch a Sioux Greyhounds game, and he could sauce a pass over two sets of sticks, find a teammate going to the back post, and he'd score. You can't do that in the NHL. Morgan hears all the to this day. You're much better when you move your feet. Don't play the standstill. Don't play the glide. That's one of the biggest things that players have to adapt to because you can
yeah.
do so much more at the junior level, even the American League level, than you can do in the NHL. Barkey had that 100-point year in juniors like 2 years ago. Um, I do think he will produce a little bit more offense than he has in his NHL stint so far. But I think he's going to be like a Swiss Army knife guy, move him up and down the lineup. Not necessarily a
Okay,
lot of points. I don't know if he's going to be a big scorer in the NHL.
okay.
Where but yes, if you play him in the American League, yes, he'll see power play time. Then even in the NHL, he's gotten a little bit of power play time.
Yeah,
But
I've seen him. Yeah,
but the role you're kind of developing him for is kind of what I just described. A guy
Swiss
you can,
Army.
yeah, move him around. I
Mm-hmm.
do think ultimately he'll kill some penalties. Has good quickness, decent speed. So and sort of the high competitive drive too. So
Yeah,
and I honestly think because he's a smart and competitive player, it's why for the most part he looks like he's belonged. They're really there are players. I think for defensemen, just the sheer number of games helps. Defensemen take longer than forwards, generally speaking.
yeah.
Um,
More
it's like
ice time and more games obviously helps
right,
defensemen
yeah,
more. Yeah,
for sure. I think wingers are ready for the NHL the quickest,
yep.
followed by centers, followed by defensemen, followed by goalies if
I
they belong.
agree. Yep, I agree. Because sometimes it'll take a goalie 5 years or
He's
more
yeah,
to try to get there. I mean, you usually don't see goaltenders like getting into their prime until they're,
mid 20s,
27,
yeah,
28,
27 years old.
right,
Yeah,
right, you know what I mean? And so that's the kind of same thing you start to see with defensemen. They start getting to be like 24, 25. Now they're
yeah,
starting to figure it out. They go, hey, hey, I get it. You know what I
yeah,
mean, right?
yeah.
So awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't want to keep you here too long, Bill. I just wanted to kind of get your take. I wanted to kind of see what your thoughts are on the Flyers. I'm gonna probably corner you here a little bit. Do you think the Flyers make the playoffs?
No,
Yeah. Okay. At least you're in the same boat.
yeah.
There's there's only 12 steps on the hill left, and they got a lot of buckets that they need to carry up that hill, and they're gonna run out of hill.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, to say yes, absolutely. I said they're going to have to win 9 of the last 12. I mean, they might even have to win 10 of the last 12.
Yeah, maybe.
So that is a
That's a tall
mighty
ask.
tall order, and especially because
Eh,
Dallas is coming to town this weekend. I don't think you're going to beat Detroit in all 3 games, with the games being that closely spaced with each other.
no.
So it's hard. It's a really tough hill to climb.
It is. It is a tough ask for sure. Well, Bill, I got to tell you, man, this has been a blast and a joy and an honor. Thank you so very much for being on here, talking about the Flyers alumni, talking about your hockey hot stove, man. Really appreciate that. Why don't you tell the folks once again where they can get signed up for the alumni stuff, and then the hockey hot stove, and where we can find all your great stuff and all those things that you do.
I appreciate it, Ron. Yeah, if you go to hockeyhotstove.com, and so we're also on social media. And for the Alumni Charity Classic, go to flyersalumni.net and click main events, and you'll find it right there.
Awesome. And we'll have all those links here in the description for you guys as well. And even if you can't go to the event, I'm sure you can click on the website and still
And
donate.
yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up real fast. If you can't attend in person, besides donation, there's also a virtual option because we have a number of people who sign up from out of state. So if
Oh,
you can do
cool.
it virtually, you walk in your neighborhood or whatever, that works the same.
There you go. So you can raise money in your own neighborhood. You don't even have to go to Conshohocken or wherever
Yep.
the walk is. So you can do it in your neighborhood. There you go, man. We'll have all the links in there for that. Thank you all very much for tuning in and checking us out. By the way, check out lowercaseblues.net. That's lowercaseblues.net. They provided all the awesome blues music for the introduction of the show here. Go check out Jake and the boys on their website. They got some swag, they got some videos, their new album. If you're in the Delmarva area, check them out, lowercaseblues.net. Get a tour date and go see those guys. They are highly, highly worth it for sure, for sure. Thank you all for making us the 11th best ranked of all Philadelphia Flyers podcasts, the Hockey Writers Inc. You can catch us at HCKY Writers Inc. That's HCKY Writers Inc. on Twitter, and you can also catch me at RNJ underscore media. Thank you very much for catching us on the Hockey Writers Inc.